love of America. They speak in a foreign land with weapons in every hand. Whatever they try, we've got to reply in language that they understand. Arms for the love of America and for the love of every mother's son who's depending on the work that must be done by the man behind the gun. They're in the camps and in the training schools. Now give them the tools.
Now give them the tools.
They gotta have tools.
They gotta have tools.
We called them from the factories and farms. Now give them the arms.
Now give them the arms.
They gotta have arms.
Arms for the love of America. We gotta get in the race and work at a lively pace. They say over here we've nothing to fear, but let's get ready just in case. Arms for the love of America. And for the love of every mother's son, for the fight for freedom can be lost or won by the man behind the gun.
You want language they understand? We speak it, brother, speak it loud. We speak it in the mines and mills, munition plants, assembly lines, and navy yards and factories. You want to hear a word or two? Okay, here's how that language sounds. Yeah, the stutter of rivet guns, the whir of lathes, the clang of steel. That's the language they understand.
We speak it, brother. Speak it loud.
We're American working men.
Behind the man, behind the gun.
We forge the arms, we roll the steel, refine the oil, machine the parts, make powder and aluminum, engines, mortars, and merchantmen, and tanks and shells and fighting planes.
That's the language they understand.
We swing a sledge or draw a plan. We run a press or set a gauge. We drive a truck or keep the books. We work with muscle or with brain. Whatever job, it's one job now. Arms, more arms for America.
That's the language they understand.
Month on month, we make thousands of planes.
Just a whisper, wait till we shout.
More thousands of engines for them.
Just a whisper, wait till we shout.
Rifles and cannon, thousands of them. Merchant ships, thousands of tons. Millions of tons of steel. Millions of barrels of oil. Millions.
Figures, wait till we shout. Louder and louder, day by day. In tanks and shells and fighting planes. Engines, mortars, and merchantmen. Until they quiver at the sound.
That's the language they understand.
We speak it, brother. Speak it loud.
Arms for the love of America.
We've got to get in the race and work at a lively pace. They say
Over here we've nothing to fear, but let's get ready just in case. Arms for the love.
Goodbye, dear. I'll be back in a year, 'cause I'm in the army now. They took my number right out of a hat, and there's nothing a guy can do about that.
Veterans Memorial Museum. And if you've never visited us before, just to give you an idea, we're located on 12 Garden Center, just off of Midway Boulevard. In fact, a hop, skip, and a jump from here. If you look off, just as you come off 287, you drive down toward this location, look left, you'll see a large parking lot area, and we're one of those small buildings off to the end there. You can readily notice us because we have a marvelous granite monument out front and a flagpole. Next. We hope, we have a lot to offer, and if you've never visited us, please come by. It's a marvelous place to meet local veterans and learn of their service and their stories. You can learn history direct from our participants there, and we have a marvelous research library, both with books, videos, even movies and things. We have special programs. Twice a month we have what we call our Coffee and Conversation program, and that's where a veteran or even a non-veteran will come in and tell their story. In the back there, we have flyers which talk about our upcoming next two Coffee and Conversations. And we also sponsor the Veterans Day program up at the high school, Memorial Day picnic up at the community park, some workshops occasionally, and it's other things. we also are always looking for volunteers. If you're looking for just something to do, to just get involved, we'd love to have you come help us. Both with learning how to archive items which are donated to us all the time, helping us to figure out new exhibits, how to tell the stories of our service, men and women. And there's really lots to do. So at all, if you're interested, talk to any of us in the red vests you see around here, or simply stop by our museum. We're open on Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And on Saturdays, when we have a coffee and conversation, we're normally open by about 8:15, 8:30. Come on in, have a coffee, donut, and at 9 we start our program. And we gladly will open the museum by appointment. If you're family, someone coming in out of town, you can't come any of the other days, give us a call, and we'll gladly open the museum for you. We do this all the time. And just kind of the last thing, we're very fortunate. The city provides us the building and lots of services, but managing the whole museum, managing our collections, putting on programs, are all done by donations. So in all, if you could maybe be a little generous tonight, we do have a collection jar back there, and would appreciate anything you would like to donate. One last thing here. Now's a good time to pull out your phones here, put them on airplane mode or whatever, so we don't have them kind of go off during our show. Okay, and on with the show.
Just for a check, can you hear me? Am I talking loud enough? If you can't, raise your hand. That's a joke. If you can hear me, raise your hand. Then we're good. All right, sounds good. The acoustics, sometimes it's hard when you're involved. My name is Shirley Jamiel. I'm one of the volunteers at the museum. And I got to write this, but you'll hear more about me later. I am so glad you're here. Thank you for coming and welcome. Instead of giving a lecture on Rosie, I thought it'd be fun to make a skit. And that's what we'll be performing tonight. But I need you to use your imaginations. Not only do we have Rosies in our midst, but we have a retired television personality that you might recognize if you use your imagination. And what our focus is really is about these wonderful women, these very special women that served our country during World War II. That's what tonight's all about, to honor them. For your education and enjoyment, I'd like to present Rosie the Riveter. Here we are in the storage room at NBC. Looks a little empty. Who's this rummaging through old trophies and props? Can you guess what television personality that is? Not Johnny Carson, he's too tall. Well, what's that? A signature smile with a little gap between his two front teeth? You're right. You guessed it. It's David Letterman. Let's see what he's up to.
Well, it's been a good run. 1970 to 2015, NBC and CBS, and lots of great people I interviewed. Yeah, it's been a good run. I love this. Oh, wait a minute. What's this down here? Oh,
no. Oh, no. Poor Mr. Letterman. I think he's fallen. Now, I need you to use your imagination and see what happens next. Could he have hit his head so hard that he'll hallucinate? Or maybe he'll go back through time and get an insider's view of, well, let's just see what happens.
Oh, boy. Oh, I really took a spill here. Oh, my head really hurts.
You okay, mister?
Oh, yes. I took a spill. I'm not certain exactly where I am.
Ooh, that's gonna be a nasty
Yeah.
bruise.
Yeah.
You're in Central Park. You don't remember how you got here?
No, I really don't. Last thing I remember, I was in the NBC studios going through some boxes.
I don't know where that is, but if you think you need a doctor, I can get you one.
No, I don't. I think I'm all right. You know, but looking around, I don't recognize Central Park. Something's different here. Do you remember anything of this?
Looks the same to me.
Oh, brother, something's really changed here.
My name
That's-
is Lorraine Dale.
Oh,
My friends know me as Rosie the Riveter.
oh, I know your name. I recognize that. Oh boy, my head does hurt here.
What's your name?
Oh, my name is Dave Letterman. And very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
And
you.
that, you know, it's kind of interesting here. Things have changed a lot. Would you mind if I asked you some questions?
Sure, I'll talk to you. Tell you what, why don't I tell you ways that women help win the war?
That sounds pretty intriguing. Maybe I could use that for an upcoming show.
Okay?
So, Lorraine, could you tell me one way that women helped our country win World War II?
Sure. For starters, when the men left, a lot of jobs were over vacant, so we filled in. We drove trucks, we tended bar, we worked at LaGuardia Field, we worked at the Waldorf, we ran elevators in office buildings, we delivered milk, we delivered mail, we did pretty much everything. And we learned to weld and rivet and went to work in the war plants and the shipyards. Our husbands were at work or away at war, so we needed the paycheck.
Oh, so one way women helped win the war was to step in and fill the gaps when their men left for war.
That's it. My good friend Josephine Rochelle quit a job at the coat factory when the war started. She wanted to help out. Her 5 brothers were already in the armed forces, and she wanted to enlist, but she knew it would give her mother a heart attack. So she learned to rivet and went to work as a riveter. She felt like it was the patriotic thing to do. Her sister Sophie went to work at the assembly line.
So another way women helped win the war was to do what they thought was their patriotic duty.
Yeah. My neighbor's 18-year-old daughter, Evelyn Margulies, drove a tractor for the Army. She tried to get a job at the plant at Fresh Meadows, but they was told straight out they weren't hiring Jews. She was furious.
Yeah.
So she saw an Army poster and she signed up. She worked out on the docks at Bay Ridge loading ammunition. Mimi Lipspig discovered the bathrooms where she worked were made for men. They changed the signs for the women, but not the plumbing. So they always told the new girls the urinals were foot showers. There was another woman I knew, Ann King. She was a riveter, weighed 92 pounds. She could get into spots that the men couldn't because she was so small. So they put her to work on a jet aircraft. She could get in, the men could get in, but our shoulders were too big to do the work.
So women helped win the war by being adaptable.
Yeah, women with young kids had it really hard.
Oh, I suppose there were no daycare centers, fast food joints, takeout food available for women like there is
I
today.
don't know what all that's about, but I do know that women had a real hard time finding somebody to watch the kids. And then after a 12-hour shift, would have to go home, shop for food that wasn't always available due to rationing, and then go home and make meals from scratch. In 1943, the mayor decided something had to be done. So they opened up daycare centers in Brooklyn and Harlem, and after-school programs were started for women that worked the night shift.
So women sacrificed their time with their families to help the country in its effort to win the war.
That's it. Women that didn't need the paycheck to feed the family volunteered for a lot of stuff. 300 women showed up at the headquarters at 300 Mulberry Street, helped out with the police, did everything from applications for air raid wardens and fingerprinting criminal suspects. And I know another lady named Eleanor Leo. She was one of 250 ground volunteers at Fort Washington. She would drop her kids off with the neighbor, drive out, climb a 100-foot tower, sometimes in the 100-mile-an-hour winds, and freeze the rain to look for enemy aircraft.
Wow, that's pretty challenging. So another way women helped win the war was that they prioritized their lives and put their country at the top of the list.
Yeah, that's it. And speaking of priorities, I got to get home and feed my family. We're having SOS. You care to join us?
Oh, well, thank you. I think I've got that work in my notes.
Good luck
Thank
to
you.
you.
Well, excuse me, ladies. I wonder if I could ask you a few questions about how women helped our country win World War II.
It's about time somebody cared enough to ask. We'd be happy to talk to you.
I've been writing down some different ways that women have changed their lives to help during the war. Can you add to that?
Are you asking how we accommodated for the war? Because
Yes.
I have been very accommodating. Because of the lack of available material, my skirts got shorter, and we replaced blouses with dickies. We replaced our high heels and our jewelry for slacks and overalls. I guess you could say we sacrificed our looks for the war.
You look pretty good to me.
Our hair got shorter, and we started to wear caps so our hair wouldn't get caught up in the machinery. Our culottes and our slacks helped us bicycle to work and dig our victory gardens. This was pretty radical when we would all wear dresses and nylons to the grocery store.
And because of the lack of heating supplies, we had to wear linen dinner jackets and fleece-lined slippers at home just to stay warm. But the worst part was, we had no rubber for our corsets or our girdle belts, and no nylon for our stockings. So we had to get creative. Some of us used the leg stick, a makeup crayon, to draw a straight line up the back of our legs to make it look like we were wearing nylons, even when we weren't.
And raincoats.
Yes, the raincoats. They were made from shower curtains
Oh.
and jumpsuits from awnings, and outfits were fashioned from car upholstery found in automobile graveyards.
Oh, brother. Well, I guess women's ingenuity in the face of shortages was another way that women helped win the war. Oh, I'm sorry. And by the way, I never introduced myself. I'm David Letterman.
Hi there. I'm Doris Bloomberg, and this is my sister Shirley.
Very nice to meet you.
Would you like to know our story?
Oh, please, with pleasure. Yes.
We were graduates from Philadelphia College, both majoring in math. We probably would have gone on to become teachers had it not been for the war. In 1944, we were recruited by the Army to research the trajectory of bullets and bombs. This information was sent over to the bombers overseas and directly helped win the war.
Oh, a lot of women helped win the war. Between 1940 and 1945, 50% of us left our homes to go work in the factories. Doris and I, we were mechanical and electrical engineers in the aircraft industry, testing ballistics and other weapons to be used in the war.
Our research helped develop weapons that were sent over to the bombers on the raids in Europe.
Oh, and we chose to work double shifts most of the time, but when we had time off, boy, did we know how to have fun. Socials, picnics, parties, of course without the men. The ladies, who needs men to have fun, am I right?
We had to keep a lot of secrets, and this was just easier when we were at work.
Loose lips, was that
Yes.
what you were saying?
Loose lips sink ships, you know. And everything we were dealing with had to do with national security. And we'll go to our grave with those secrets.
6 of us worked on the ENIAC project. That's Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. One of the first automated computer systems. It was designed by men, but it was programmed by us women because of our hands-on knowledge. Because of that, we got a bump in our security clearance, and they gave us a raise. We made $2,000 a year.
So women used their education to help win the war effort.
The men that invented the computer that we programmed were honored at a dinner at the White House. We weren't even invited.
No, Doris, let it go. There were a lot of things we didn't like about the war. Like, remember that girl who didn't even believe we had dropped the atomic bomb?
Well, it sounds like you and the other women you worked with were pioneers in many areas, but you never got the credit for the work you did.
Mostly not, but we didn't do it for the credit. We did it because we felt it was our duty and we felt lucky and honored to be a part of it.
Oh, and we did it because we got to break codes for the government. Okay, after the war, we went home and took jobs as teachers and raised our families.
So another way you women helped win the war was you worked hard and even gave up public recognition for all the work you did.
This is true, but do you want to know the #1 way we helped win the war?
Please.
We pulled together
And won!
It was about supporting our husbands, our brothers, and our sons, and our families and our country. Speaking of which, I have hash to make for dinner. What are you making, Shirley?
Woo. I saved up all my ration tickets. I'm gonna buy chicken!
Let me see if I got this right. Women helped win the war by filling in the jobs left behind when their husbands and sons and fathers left for them. They thought it was their patriotic duty. They were adaptable. They sacrificed their time with their families and prioritized their lives to put their country at the top of the list. They sacrificed their looks and fashion. They used their education and learned skills that helped our fighting men. And they didn't receive public recognition for the ideas or their work. But mostly they pulled together. Without them, history might have been had a much different ending. Oh, where'd they go? Well, it seems like some things never change. The top 10 ways that women helped win the war. That's got a nice ring to it. Women, they're remarkable. You're remarkable, no matter what century you're born in. I love women. No one will ever believe this.
Little different than a lecture, huh? Before I share some facts that I also found when I was researching, I want to just give a special thanks to our 3 Rosies. I was going to say the cute one because I'm biased as my daughter, who's a nurse at Good Sam's, Sherry hers. And in fact, she's on call right now, so if she scoots, it's because she has to go back to the hospital. And then Charlotte Anderson, who is a natural, okay? Whose husband served in Afghanistan. She's never been on stage before. She was scared to death, but she pulled through. And you all know Mike Phillips, who was Mr. Letterman. Who put together that wonderful production online with all the pictures and the music that he really had to learn from my son how to work the computer.
I just turned it over to him and he...
That's not true. He's been working this.
And my wife who wrote it.
Just to share a couple of facts. By 1943, Rosie made up 1/3 of the workforce. They built B-17 bombers. They were always paid less than men. This one I love. 9 months after Pearl Harbor was attacked, there were more babies born than any other month in the previous 18 years. Those were called goodbye babies. About 183,000 children on the home front lost their fathers during the war. You guys would like this one. Superman, Batman, Captain America were the heroes for 6 to 11-year-old kids. And in the movies, the best years of our lives, in a munitions plant making artillery shells.
Actually, it was a Packard plant in Detroit making artillery shells.
And she got an award for her hard service, and Robert Montgomery presented the award.
Gave her a little kiss on the
For the little people, that was a really hot movie star. But those are my stories. Does anyone have someone to share? Earlier, someone back here had something. In fact, would you like to stand up? You just came in not knowing the program.
My mother and my aunt were Rosie's. They never called themselves that. They really didn't speak of it. And I've just been putting everything together and think they didn't take credit, I guess, for it. But I got all sorts of pictures. They were in Omaha, and they traveled around, but at this time they were in Omaha. And doing their work on the airplanes, and President Roosevelt came driving in. They took him in a limousine through the plant, and they all got to get their pictures. So they have pictures of Roosevelt driving through, and them with their overalls and the bandana like this gal. I saw the pictures growing up, never thought anything of it, and I'm like, that was my mother, but she never said that she did that. I'm sure she was proud of it, but it was just, I don't know why.
They didn't speak
of it. My father was in the war. He barely spoke of it. He had his trunk with all his army stuff, and we rummaged through it. And they'd say, put that back. But now I know, too, my mother had a pair of stockings in a box. It was a loose box, a real fancy silver writing. She kept that for I don't know how many years, and so I said, leave those there, nobody touched that. Now I know why those stockings meant so much to her, even though when pantyhose came along, she was like, ooh, pantyhose. She never wear garter belt and all this stuff. Yeah. She saved the stockings for her.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, and thank you for her service. And you had your hand up too?
First of all, you did a great job. Thanks so much. And you really do look like me. That was a great experience.
I thought so.
Anyway, my mother was 92, still living up in Bismarck, North Dakota. When she was in high school, her superintendent came into the room and announced that there was going to be a contest in the state of Minnesota, and that whoever collected the most scrap for the war, a scrap metal, would be given a free trip to New Orleans to christen a ship. And she came from a family of 15 aunts and uncles, because her mother was from a family of 15. So she went around to the farm areas of Minnesota, and from all her aunts and uncles, went ahead and took on the task. The only girl in her class, there were 5 boys who were also going to collect scrap, and she went ahead and called her father and said, I think I'm going to join this contest. Well, moral of the story is she won, and she was given a trip to New Orleans and given roses, whatever, and she christened the ship. I don't remember what the ship was, but it was a huge thing for the state of Minnesota, and she's so proud of that accomplishment. So that's how she contributed to the war effort.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing and for her service. Anybody else? Doesn't have to be anything totally spectacular.
This is totally different, but my dad worked for the Union Pacific Railroad and was a train dispatcher. And during the war, the government took over the trains and, called all the shots, what moved and what didn't. Because he was a railroader, we had passes. And when we get on the trains, they'd be full of servicemen, and the windows would be open. This is back in the coal-burning locomotive days. Mm-hmm. The windows would be all open because it was stinking hot in there. There would be no place for us to sit because the soldiers got the seats. But at the end of each car were piles of duffel bags for them, so we got to sit on the duffel bags. And then when you got off the train and saw yourself, you had all these black speckles on your face from the cinders that had come in through the open windows.
Wow. That's cute.
And he was frustrated because he was too young for the First World War and too old for the Second World War, but because he was a train dispatcher, he played a very active part.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Yes, please.
I remember going on the train when I was very, very little, and when the soldiers were there, and you couldn't get seats. So somehow they had some type of a restroom or sink or something there. And so that's where my mother put me, was under the sink. And we went to Missouri, and I was so little that it didn't matter. But that's how we rode to Missouri on the train because of all the soldiers. And I remember the seats were all wooden seats and stuff, and soldiers everywhere.
Now, that's something you don't hear in the history class at school. Thank you for sharing.
They don't right under the sink. I guess it would, I don't know what type of a sink it would have been at that days.
And, you know, they were very small bathrooms with just a small lavatory, which probably emptied out onto the tracks.
Right.
As did the toilets.
Yeah. Interesting. Anybody else? Well, I have one more short thing. When you said your mom didn't talk about it, my mother's twin brother, actually, my mom was home with the kids. When my dad came back from the war, he and my brother never did get along very well. I'm not sure, I think maybe that was that separation. But her twin brother actually fought the Battle of the Bulge. And he passed away last Easter at the age of 95 and never, ever talked about it. That's sad. So that's something we did back then.
I'd just like to make a comment because there's some books back there that Shirley took a lot of the information out of. And I would encourage you to go to the library, go to bookstores, and it's a great history that really doesn't get shared. The sacrifice that men and women made to win the war. And I encourage you to look for yourself and discover some of these wonderful stories and let them be an example for us today. So.
Thank you.
And we have some refreshments in the back, some cookies, some lemonade, and please stick around a little bit and discuss as well.
And the Rosies will take pictures, but if you want your picture taken with them, and you've got your own camera, they'll stand there and smile for you. That was part of the deal, Sister Nurse. Saying I've been on my feet all day. Thank you all for coming. To do another play about World War nurses in the military. Anybody interested in coming to something like that? Then I will write them.
Oh, and just one other thing. We're putting a pitch for our coffee and conversation. Our next one is this Saturday at the museum. Starts at 9. Come at 8:30 for coffee and stuff. Joe McCarthy's our speaker. Joe served with the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment. Now this is between the wars. This is in the early 60s. Redesignated the 509th, was sent to Europe. Participated in all sorts of airborne operations to include Turkey, Cyprus, and met his wife Heidi there. And Heidi hopefully will join us. She was a young German girl in Berlin, and in 1944, her parents were one of the last, early 44, were one of the last to get out of Berlin before the Russians encircled it. So she is quite the story too. So both of them hopefully will be with us this Saturday. So please come join us, particularly if you've never come to a coffee and conversation. I think you really enjoy it. So thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for coming.